Another week, boys, and another random Wednesday blog post. Lightfall Crucible update. Guys, if you're a PvP player, we have been waiting for this moment now for years. Now, Lightfall has launched, and we are now several weeks into Season 20. Lots of updates are live, with everything from an overhaul build crafting system to fresh seasonal weapons and raid loot. While these changes have given both our PvE and Crucible players a lot of exciting things to look forward to, we're planning some meaningful changes in the activity and reward structure for Crucible, and want to give everyone a preview of what's coming. There's a lot to talk about, so here's a handy TLDR of what we're covering. First, we have playlists and offerings, updates to map and game mode weightings, which is now live. Clash is leaving quick play mid-season, interesting. New connection-based matchmaking, CBMM, Crucible Rotator incoming mid-season. Wow! We're getting a connection-based matchmaking playlist. Now, matchmaking, a data-driven explanation of Fireteam Matchmaking. FTMM has replaced Freelance, which is now live. Upcoming FTMM adjustments, which will be mid-season, and loose skill-based matchmaking, SBMM, and its settings are changing mid-season. Interesting. Now, competitive division, competitive matchmaking and skill rating explain, future skill, ranking, and matchmaking system adjustments, upcoming competitive rewards mid-season and beyond, and quality of life improvements mid-season and beyond. Now, Iron Banner and Trials of Osiris, upcoming Iron Banner plans, future seasons, Trials of Osiris labs with new matchmaking rules, which will be later this season, a preview of Season 21 trial changes, and new and returning game modes, which include Countdown Classic, Countdown Respawn, Countdown Rush, and Checkmate. We want to start with a rundown of items we added in Season 19 and the changes we're making to them. Oh boy, that's the TLDR? Holy hell. Now, overall playlists and offerings. We've done a lot of reflecting on player feedback to the Crucible changes we made at the start of Season 19. We recently moved Rumble back onto the Crucible screen full time, and when Lightfall went live a few weeks ago, we also made the following changes to the quick play playlist map and game mode weighting. So starting with game modes, we increased the likelihood of getting a troll as the game mode over Clash. And for maps, we increased the weight, as in more likely to play on these maps. That includes Javelin, Burnout, Rusted Lands, Midtown, and Wormhaven. Now the standard weight is still the same here for Endless Veil, Ultra Flame, Distant Shore, Fortress, Pacifica, Radiant Cliffs, Bannerfall, Eternity, Widow's Court, Fragments, and Vostok. But they also reduced the weight for maps like Disjunction, Cathedral of Dust, Twilight Gap, Dead Cliffs, which sucks because I love Dead Cliffs. Anomaly, which also sucks. I like Anomaly, as well as Cauldron. Now, maps that have been completely removed from the playlist, Exodus Blue and Convergence. At the same time, they're an Iron Banner. Interesting that Bungie took those out though. Now, upcoming changes. In Season 20's mid-season patch, we will be making another set of larger changes. Clash will be leaving the quick play playlist, leaving only Control, so it reverts to its old name, Control, and it will be replaced by Iron Banner when that is active. Both playlists will continue to use loose skill-based matchmaking, but we'll be making some changes to the matchmaking parameters. Loose skill-based matchmaking will have its skill and connection filters modified so that latency windows will be expanded at the slowest rate, and skill windows will start tighter but can expand more quickly as needed. This should manifest as more evenly matched games with lower skill variances for most players, with the primary fallback being gradually increasing the skill variance as opposed to widening the connection quality, aka we're hoping this is going to give you better connections. Now, this does not mean you'll never see lag in Crucible. We do not prevent players from manually joining fire teams to which they may have poor connection, and connections are dynamic so that their quality can sometimes degrade mid-game for a variety of reasons. Right, variety of reasons. But it does mean that matchmaking will try to only expand connection quality brackets as a last resort once the available skill and fire team size options have been exhausted. In addition, we are splitting the current rotator into two separate playlists, both of which rotate game modes weekly, and both use connection-based matchmaking, with no plans to change this. Wow, they put it in bold there that they don't plan on changing this. Crucible Relentless Rotator. This will include Clash, Rift, and Zone Control. We see this as our main haven for players who want to engage with large team-based gameplay outside of skill-based matchmaking, and having it will make sure there's always conventional team-based Destiny PvP available to play when Iron Banner is active. Now, the Relentless Rotator will be replaced with Trials of Osiris when it is active. Oh, all right, so it actually goes away on the weekends. Now, Crucible Party Rotator, Mayhem, Scorch, and Momentum Control. These are modes that significantly modify the general sandbox of Destiny and play very differently than normal Crucible. Now, all remaining freelance nodes have been removed with Fireteam Matchmaking in its place. See the matchmaking section below for more details. Competitive Division, Rumble, and Private Match will remain always on as options. All right, I like it. Consolidation with some variety there, right? Like if you just want to get in there and play with good quality connections, by all means, you can just jump right in there. Granted, that does does split the player base, but I'm curious what the load times are for those games. Additionally, we'll be running Crucible Labs starting in the middle of Season 20 to put 3v3 countdown and a few variations through their paces. More below. Now, Fireteam Matchmaking. At the start of Season 19, we added a new feature to our matchmaking called Fireteam Matchmaking. Now, the goal of Fireteam Matchmaking is to keep fireteams mostly matching against other fireteams of their size, making it easier to play as a solo or a duo in 3v3 or 6v6 matches. Matching teams of similar compositions should make matches generally more approachable no matter what your fireteam size is. Now, our original hope was that we would have it full-time in quick play, which is no freelance node, and then be able to test it on Ironbender by late January, then move it to other nodes in Season 20, and then slowly start removing freelance nodes altogether. Now, our original few weeks of quick play were strong enough when looking at fireteam matchups that we decided to enable it in Ironbender in the first week and completely remove freelance from Ironbender by January. To illustrate, the chart below is from week 2 of Ironbender when we removed the freelance node. The chart is based around the player's personal fireteam size and shows the kind of composition of matches that were happening. Oh, we got some charts. Oh, look at that. All right, so right there on the left, you got fireteam size, and notice right here, you have a 39% chance of getting nothing but solos. Now, this substantially dips off when you start matching up with multiple teams of duos, but you see where it's still trying to like prioritize having more solos on a squad. Now, look at the bottom right here, guys. Fireteam size of 5, 84.6% chance of matching another team that's both 5 and 1, and a team of 6, 95.3% chance of always matching another team of 6. Now, obviously, that seems pretty common sense, but that's good. You do not want a situation where a team of 6 is facing 6 solos. It happens. I mean, it's got the data right there, guys. It's a 0.4% chance. It's interesting that that number is higher than that of matching 3 teams of 2, as well as 2 teams of 3. Now, if you ran with a full fire team of 6, you match against other full fire teams over 95% of the time. And if you ran solo, you went up against a full fire team 0.2% of the time. That's 1 out of every 500 matches. To break that one down further, if you were a solo and went up against a full stack fire team, 60% of the time, you were paired with a 5-person fire team or filled in when someone from a full fire team disconnected. 5% of the time, you were matched with a 4-person fire team and another solo. 4% of the time, you were matched with a 3-person fire team and either a duo or 2 other solos. And 31% of the time, you were matched with 5 other solos or some mix of solos and duos against a full fire team, roughly 1 in every 1,500 matches. Now, these numbers seem pretty good, and it's why we removed the freelance Ironbender node. No matter what size fire team you go in with, nearly all the time, you are put into a reasonably composed matchup. However, there are 2 small areas we feel could use improvement. First, for large fire teams, which is 4 or more in 6v6, fireteam-based matchmaking will heavily prioritize equivalent fireteam size over all other options. So much so that it prefers to match 2 equally sized large fire teams with a wide skill delta over 2 similarly sized fire teams with a narrow skill delta. So Bungie is really prioritizing the size of your team over the skill. Second, if fireteam-based matchmaking is unable to find a suitable match for a large fire team within the given time frame, which happens approximately 1% of the time when searching as a 6-person team, it will default to taking the first available match, which sometimes results in the small number of matches mentioned above, where a 6-person matches a team of all solos. Now, to combat both of these issues, our mid-season patch will make a change to fireteam-based matchmaking and control in Ironbender. That, if matchmaking was unable to find an equally sized fire team with a narrow skill delta, will allow it to search for similarly sized fire teams with a narrow skill delta before holding out for an equally sized fire team with a wider skill delta. Example, if you're in a 6-person fire team with a weighted average skill of 150, the system may prefer a 4-person fire team paired with a duo with a weighted average skill of 200, as opposed to waiting for another 6-person fire team with a skill of 400. Now, this should improve both match quality and matchmaking times for larger fire teams. Now, this change should also reduce instances of fireteam-based matchmaking being unable to find a suitable match before hitting the time limit and defaulting to the first team available. In the rare cases where solo players do match against large fire teams, they should almost always have a large fire team on their team as well. Guys, I'm gonna say I've actually been enjoying fireteam-based matchmaking in Trials, Ironbender. I think it's fantastic. I think overall, the health of Crucible has greatly improved. And I think we always knew that freelance was just a band-aid. It was but a temporary fix. This seems to be the long-term permanent fix that we've been needing inside of Crucible. Now, on the 3v3 front, we removed the freelance option at the start of Season 20 and added fireteam-based matchmaking into the competitive division playlist. And we have seen the following team compositions. So, for solos, 80% of the time, you're matching other solos. points. Now, a duo and a solo, you do match that 18.9% of the time, but matching a team of 3 is only 0.6% of the time, which is incredible. I feel like Bungie's really showing this off because they're like, yo, we're so proud of our new matchmaking parameters. It's actually working. Now, full fire teams are matching against other full fire teams 98% of the time. Fire teams of a duo and one solo are matching with the same opponent team composition over 98% of the time. Now, since we've removed the freelance node from both competitive division and Trials of Osiris, we also like to share data purely from the point of view of a solo player. If you queue solo, 80% of your fire teams will be all solos, and you'll be paired with a duo nearly 20% of the time. If you get matched with 2 other solos, over 98% of your games will be against another team of solos. And if you're paired with a duo, over 98% of your games are against a duo and solo combo. We are happy with these numbers, although matchmaking times for 2-person fire teams are a little on the long side. So we may look to revisit the parameters in the future to see if we can improve this. Again, guys, I cannot stress how much I have been enjoying this. And I feel like the vast majority of solo players have also been enjoying this. Now, the competitive division. Another big feature we introduced in Season 19 was a revamp of the competitive division playlist. These were our goals when we built it. All players can find a variety of balanced matches and feel competitive. A player's PvP rank is a core part of their Guardian identity. Well, not really, but okay, Bungie, we'll keep going. Have places in the ecosystem to not engage in the ranked play, but still have decently balanced matches, or to not engage in skill-based matchmaking at all. We designed the competitive division to be a ranking system tied to your skill, matchmaking rating, or MMR. Now, here's a graph of the competitive division versus skill for all players with 30 or more games played in Season 19, around 3 games a week. The dim black line is the target division rank for each skill. The thick line is the mean division, and each dot is a single player. The colors of each dot represent what division the player is in. Outside of a handful of outliers, you can see that no one is more than 1,000 division rank above their skill. It also shows that it's probably a little too hard to climb to your target rank, as the average is well below, especially in the mid to high skill range. When we look at the same graph of people who completed 150 games in the season, nearly 15 a week, the graph looks a lot better for those serious PvP players. Outside of some real noises in the lower skill brackets, there are fewer lower skill but heavy PvP players, and the average lines up well with the targets and what we want to see. You might also notice a few strange dots, medium to lower skill, but all the way up in Ascendant or Adept rank. We were super happy that these players called themselves out to us, as we immediately knew there was either a serious bug or something very fishy was going on. LOL! Dude, these cheaters just literally outed themselves. We've investigated their individual match history and issued permanent bans for win trading. Oh my. Yeah, you can see it right there, guys. Like, if you look at the first graph, see the little pink dots, like the pink and purple dots there between the 9 and 10,000 range, but notice that their skill bracket is below 0 there. There you go. Bungie's literally picking out the cheaters right there. Now, for those of you who are interested in how you rank against others, here is the end of the Season 19 breakdown in number of players in each division, which shows the nice bell curve one would expect in a ranked system. All right, so here we go. 1% in copper, 6% in bronze, 23% in silver. Gold has got 34%, 26% in platinum, 7% in adept, and 3% in ascendant. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I got my one well-rolled rose, and I did not play a lick of competitive for the rest of the season. Whereas like when Luna's Hound Not Forgotten came out, I lived in the competitive playlist. Now, skill matchmaking versus rank matchmaking. Oh boy. All right, Bungie, let's see what you got to say on this. Now, competitive division matches players based on their skill, not their rank. This can feel counterintuitive, but matching purely based on rank can lead to a couple of bad side effects. Number 1, smurfing. A high skill veteran player creates a new account purely to play against lower skill and newer players who they can mop the floor with. This, of course, leads to mismatched games and drives newer players away from the game. While this is possible now, the skill system picks up on your smurfing skills quickly and moves smurf accounts to the proper skill pool. Number 2, tanking. This is a high skill player intentionally losing a number of games in a row so they can D-rank and play against lower skill players who they can mop the floor with. Currently, once the skill system understands where they sit, it can be very time consuming to convince it that they are much worse than they are when they are tanking, and it will quickly bring them back up to their former skill once they start playing again. So while still possible, in both cases, our skill system makes the hassle of playing lower skill players much worse than the number of games against them will generate. So instead, we choose to matchmake based on our internal skill values, which almost all multiplayer games do too. The approach most modern ranking system takes is to match you based on an internal matchmaking rank, MMR, and then throttle or expand gains and losses of the ranking system so it closely follows but never precisely matches the internal MMR. As the graphs above illustrate, a vast majority of players are near their target division if they have played enough matches. So we believe the skill matchmaking and ranking systems themselves are working well, with a few caveats below. Well, I mean, that is true. MMR is something that's utilized in pretty much every other competitive PvP game. I think something that has really baffled a lot of players in all of the games, and maybe even here with Destiny 2, folks actually want to know what their MMR is. At the same time, this is a problem even in games like Valorant, where you have folks who are in bronze playing golds. Some people will bring up, why not just match or tether MMR to ranks? Well, if you did that, you might as well just have rank-based matchmaking. In my opinion, guys, and I'm gonna say this, but this is just my opinion, MMR exists in competitive games to keep sweatier players playing longer. Playing longer means overall revenue should increase as retention goes up, yada yada. That's just my opinion, guys. Again, not trying to get all corporate with you, but the last thing Bungie or any other game developer wants is you to hit platinum within a day. Now, how is skill determined? We've taken a deep dive on this before, but we don't just look at your stats and pick a random skill. Each player starts out with a neutral skill value, and they play against other players, all of whom have some skill value. Neutral if they haven't played, or some positive or negative numbers if they have. After the match, it ranks all the players based on a wide variety of internal stats, much more than what we show on the scoreboard, generally weighted towards stats that are correlated with winning. Now, once everyone is ranked, it looks to see if there are any players out of place. Guardian A played better than Guardian B, but Guardian B has a higher skill. It takes those two Guardians and tweaks their skill values, pushing A up and pushing B down. It's important to note that, like the ELO rating system, our skill system is always relative, and the adjustments are made by looking at the other Guardians in your match. Over time, it becomes more and more confident in a player's skill, and will start reducing the amount skill can be pushed up or down after a match. You must play better than your skill consistently over several matches before it will improve your skill, so it can feel like you get stuck in your skill, and this translates to your competitive division. Just because we believe the systems are working well doesn't mean there aren't things to improve. Based around Season 19's feedback, analytics, and our own observation of competitive division over the season, we are going to be making some adjustments in a future season. It can feel too hard to climb to your target division if you aren't securing enough wins. This is particularly bad if you're at the bottom half of the skill curve. We want the 30-game graph above to look more like the 150-game graph, just with more people. If you're below your target division rank and have yet to reach it during the current season, we are looking to add some additional ranking adjustments, as well as blend your current division rank with your skill for matchmaking purposes. So if you place below your target division, matches should be easier to win when you start your climb, and you should get more for each win. So similar to how our ranking system used to be. Now, this helping system will end once you get near your target division, so deranking back down will not produce the same results a second time. Oh, that's interesting. Now, it can feel too hard to break out of your target division once you reach it. We're looking at loosening up the confidence of the skill system described above and making it easier to increase or decrease your skill rating and your associated division rank. The actual skill system is a separate server that does its calculations and skill adjustments out of sync with the scoreboard in the match. So we must do a rough estimate of the skill adjustment in the scoreboard to be able to give a rank adjustment in the moment. We aren't currently happy with how this estimate is working, so we're taking a more thorough pass at the scoreboard estimation for skill adjustment and bringing this more in line with what the skill server is doing. Now, while the overall system is generally getting players to the right place over time, in the moment, some of the outcomes can feel arbitrary, particularly the times where you win, but only gain 5 division points. There are a few things happening here. You could feel like you played well. What you don't see is that you were matched up against an opposing team with an average skill well below yours, making your gains minimal. This is one of the most common ways of only gaining 5 points. We want to show you an average of the other team's skills on the scoreboard, so you can have a better idea of both how good your team is, especially compared to you, and how good the opposing team is. If you win, your division rank will go up, even if the skill system thinks you should go down. This is another of the ways you can get only 5 points. Conversely, if you lose, your division rank will go down, even if the skill system thinks you should go up. The loss is that results in losing 5 points. We're taking a hard look at these values. Skill is attempting to judge your individual performance relative to the other players, not whether your team won or lost. We've investigated removing the force positive or force negative rank changes, but believe it will feel worse to lose points on a win than it does to gain them on a loss. Well, hell yeah. Alternatively, we can increase the minimum points gained and lost from 5 to a higher value, but that means you would would lose more rank in games where you performed well but didn't pull out the win than you do currently. Finally, if you are well above your target division, it scales your gains down and your losses up. If you're well below your target division, it scales your gains up and your losses down. This can result in some 5-point wins, but we think this is working well right now based on the graph above. I feel like Bungie keeps putting this graph in my face going, look at it. It says we're right. Now the competitive rewards. Ah, yes. What we're all here for, really. Now the other half. What do I get for playing this highly competitive playlist? Currently, you can get an increasing Crucible rank multiplier based on your current division, which works in all playlists. You get 1 roll of Rose hand cannon each week per character by participating. You can find out where you stand amongst the rest of the Destiny PvP community, and you can earn the Glorious Seal by reaching Platinum, or Gild it by reaching Adept, as well as a number of other Crucible-related triumphs. One large note: at the start of Season 20, we shipped a bug where players can claim Glorious or Dredgen titles without completing all of the intended triumphs, and in our mid-season patch, Glorious and Dredgen seals and Guild claims will be reverted, and the errant triumphs removed. Any players who have completed all of the intended triumphs will immediately be able to reclaim their seal or guild, and any players who are only able to claim because mistakenly included triumphs will need to complete the regular triumphs to reclaim. Veteran players with multiple guilds of Dredgen will maintain their guild counts through this change. Now, we want the competitive division to have more rewards to chase for our most dedicated PvP players. And back when we introduced the system prior to Season 19, we promised more information, so today we have some. At the mid-season patch during Season 20, Lord Shaxx will have a new emblem if you are Ascendant 3 or higher. There will be a stat tracker that allows you to put on your current competitive division rank number on PvP emblems. Oh boy, PvP players, you can flex that PvP-ness. At the start of Season 21, the Rose hand cannon will be replaced by a new competitive division only sniper rifle for participation in the playlist. Alright, we plan to add new weapons to the competitive division every other season. Rose will be available again in a future season, but will be unobtainable during Season 21. Alright guys, better get that God roll Rose. Now Lord Shaxx will have a new Season 21 Ascendant emblem. We are adding a new Ascendant emblem and retiring the previous one each season. Oh, alright, that does give it some value for sure. FOMO for the win. Lord Shaxx will have a transmat effect for all players who reach Silver 3 or above. Not only is the transmat the first one you can earn directly through gameplay, it also uses some new tech so it can change its appearance based on your current competitive division. Oh, that is fire. Oh my, I like it. Now, competitive quality of life mid-season. Spawn Overshield, aka Spawn Protection. The Overshield that you get for a couple seconds when you respawn was originally tuned for Destiny 2's launch and has not been touched since then. Now, anyone who has been killed while respawning can attest, the launch shield values have not kept up with our sandbox. In the mid-season patch, we are adjusting the Spawn Overshields from 52 HP to 150 HP. This is separate from the Overshield you get when you were revived, which is unchanged. All right, so we're going back to like Destiny 1. Like back in D1, you had to wait for the Overshield to drop and then snipe them, which was quite a process considering we had self-res warlocks. Now, competitive and general Crucible quality of life for future seasons. Spawning. Our spawning algorithms and tuning have not kept up with the time to kill and pace of the game as it has evolved over the years. We're committing to a wide-ranging spawn retune across many maps and modes with the goal of getting players back in the fight quicker and if possible, near a friendly player, but always in a safe spot. Now to start with, we are targeting specific maps, Disjunction, Convergence, and Cathedral of Dust, and modes like Control, Clash, and Rift. Now as these maps play differently per mode, we will be making the following changes. We are adding more spawn locations for each of the maps and modes. I will say that is fantastic, especially for Cathedral of Dust. I love getting spawned all the way in the back of the map. I feel like I'm playing a track simulator. Now we are investigating disabling the backfill spawns for Control and Clash, adjusting the influence of objectives. For example, capture zones and allies so that players spawn nearer to allies and ally-owned objectives. Now, we are also looking at alternate objective locations to make gameplay more central. For 3v3 modes and non-objective modes, we are looking at making lane maps feel more round by keeping objectives and spawns more centralized. We're also experimenting with blocking off portions of the map with barriers. After lane maps are in a better place, we will start working through other maps and modes. Well, Bungie, if you want a round map, there's no better map than Retribution. It was literally round. Now, lobby balancing. Now that we've had the chance to look at how skill-based matchmaking is affecting the PvP landscape in quick play and the competitive division, we are turning our gaze to lobby balancing. Our current algorithm tries to make matches fair by making the average skill of both teams be as similar as possible. What ends up happening at times is that the highest skill players get matched with the lowest skill skilled players, and they fight all the medium skilled players. We are investigating a new style of lobby balancing that should make the team compositions feel more even in terms of skill allocations, while also keeping the balance of teams as close as possible. Now, Iron Banner. We had many Iron Banner details in the TWAB last week, but we saved a few tidbits for this blog post. While many of us love Rift and a fire team of experienced players, it isn't currently as friendly to solo players, PvE players, or new players as we would like when we feature a mode in Iron Banner. Expect an Iron Banner specific twist to address those factors in a future season, as well as new twists we're cooking up as we speak. We're also looking at ways to decouple the challenges for earn a daily reputation bonus from complete matches as a specific subclass to earn a pinnacle in Iron Banner, but don't have a solution we are happy with yet. All right, so more things to come. Nothing really tangible here though. Now, Trials of Osiris. We've had a couple of tweaks to Trials of Osiris during Season 20. We've enabled Fireteam-based matchmaking, which heavily prioritizes matching like-sized teams against other like-sized teams. 3v3, 2+1 versus 2+1, and solos versus solos. Now, this gives us many of the same benefits as having a separate freelance playlist available, without the downside of directly splitting the population and making it difficult for duos to find quality matches. As with 6v6 Fireteam-based matchmaking, we will monitor these initial settings and make changes as needed to provide the best quality of matches for all players. We also have a few Trials labs on schedule for Season 20. We will be using the labs following the mid-season patch to gather feedback on a new Trials matchmaking system, which will remove the flawless pool and ticket-based matchmaking in favor of something different. Now, the summary of the goals for the new Trials matchmaking system: it will allow players to play with friends without worrying about whether they have gone flawless, remove the motivation to reset cards in order to farm or carry, and better protect players who are struggling to find success in the playlist. Okay, Bungie, I'm intrigued. Now, how does the new matchmaking work? We will now have 2 always active soft pools, soft meaning that matchmaking initially prefers not to blend the pools, but will, if necessary, to find a good game quickly. So the distinction is not as dramatic as the one between flawless and non-flawless in the current system. So starting with the challenger pool, this is where most players who currently play Trials on a week-to-week basis and who want to go flawless will play. It will represent an experience more like the original iteration of Trials in D1, without the focus on making games more difficult as the card progresses or after you have been flawless. Now, this pool match is based solely on connection. There is no matchmaking based on tickets, wins on a ticket, wins, weekly wins, or skill. Wow. All right. Interesting. Players who have any card with no losses, including a card after reset, or those playing with someone in their fire team that has a card with no losses, will be placed in this pool. Now, practice pool. This pool is targeted at new or less experienced players, players who are not yet ready to give going flawless a shot, and represents a place for them to dip their toes into Trials without being thrown straight into the deep end. This pool matches based on connection and weekly performance, how well you've done in Trials this week, and it resets every week. Only players with a flawed card or those on their first game of the week can play in this pool. Everyone in your fire team must have a flawed card or be on their first game of the week. Now, this pool has stomp protection. If you're consistently struggling, it will reduce your weekly performance rating to give you slightly easier matches until you recover. And farming protection. If the system detects that you or a fire team member are lightly attempting to farm the practice pool, it will slow down your matchmaking times initially. And if you continue, it will lock you into the challenger pool for the remainder of the weekend, regardless of your card state. Wow. Good. That needs to happen, because the first thing I thought of when reading about the practice pool, dude, folks are just gonna go in and just farm. But this is great. It'll immediately kick them back into the challenger pool. Now, as always, we will be playing alongside you in both pools and monitoring feedback on the new matchmaking system as the season progresses, with the intent to push it live full-time in Season 21. Later in Season 20, we will have a more in-depth discussion about Trials, including additional changes that are coming to the game mode in Season 21. But as a preview, we'll be looking at updates to passages, starting with Wealth. This will reward extra Trials rank on every win, and the amount rewarded increases as your major rank increases. And Mercy will now forgive 2 losses if you have not been flawless for the week, and reverts to its old behavior of forgiving a single loss once you go flawless. Oh my. For my folks that have never been flawless, now is your time. Now, changes to the Gilded Flawless title requirements. We want to bring this more in line with Gilded Glorious, and better reward dedication along with the individual and team skill in Trials. And a new Flawless emblem, which is going to be rewarded for going flawless without ever trailing in any of your wins. Oh! The challenge? I like it. Dude, imagine if Bungie added a 1v3 emblem. I know we can't do that because of matchmaking, but man, that would be wild. Now, experimenting with changing the main Trials game mode to be Zone Capture Elimination, which has been renamed to Dominion. Interesting. And a new introductory quest to better onboard players into the Trials environment. No lie, guys, everything that I've read here for Trials has been the best thing of this blog post. Everything else I'm still kind of scratching my head about. But this, I'm liking this. Especially the separation of pools there between practice pool and challenger pool. The fact that you have some folks that have a flawed passage and you just want to give them an opportunity to just play some warm-up games. Get used to the game mode. It's hard to get good at a game mode if you're constantly just getting stomped round after round before you can even get out of the spawn. At the same time, you lose flawless pool on Sundays. So we're really just gonna have to play this to see how this feels overall for everyone. Now, new and returning game modes. In addition to the return of the Meltdown PvP map in Season 21, a new Vex Network map in Season 22, and Citadel's Reprisal coming in Season 23, we're planning to add several new and returning game modes to the Crucible rotation, starting with Countdown in Season 20. Talk about a throwback! Now, Countdown. Countdown is a reprise of the classic Destiny 2 elimination mode originally featured in Trials of the Nine. In Countdown, two teams go against one another in a single life battle for control of two Cabal charges. The Cabal charges on the map serve as a focal point to force the combat and exists as the team-based solution to the stalemate gameplay that existed in standard elimination. Now, once a charge is armed via interaction, it begins ticking down its fuse, and defenders have 35 seconds to defuse the charge before it detonates. Elimination's rules are active, and if a team is eliminated, then the last team standing gains a point. As a part of this reprise, we've brought in variants of Countdown that add features like respawn and multi-bomb. Now, here's what to expect. Countdown Classic, the standard Countdown experience. Elimination team versus team with the Cabal charge as a focal point. Now, once a charge exits play via diffusal or detonation, the round ends. The round also ends if the team is eliminated in the arm phase. In the diffuse phase, a charge must be diffused or defenders must be eliminated to end the round. Now, attackers arm one of the two sides and defend the charge until it detonates. Eliminating the defenders wins as well. Defenders defend both charges from being armed, defuse any active charges, and eliminating the attacking team can win if any charge isn't in play. Holding off the attack can also win you rounds. Now, the settings. Elimination rule, enable. First to 4 rounds wins. Revive. Tokens, enable. Revive costs, 1 token. Lost token on death, disable. And tokens per round, 1. Score, detonations, 1. Diffuses, 1. Eliminations, 1. And defenses, also 1. Now, the maps included in this include Fortress, Radiant Cliffs, Pacifica, Midtown, Eternity, and Meltdown. Of course, Bungie's gonna do Eternity. I'm actually really curious to see how Countdown will play right now with Strand, Void 3.0. Gonna be a lot of barricade hugging. Now, Countdown respawn. The same experience as the standard Countdown, but no elimination rules. Players respawn after 7 seconds and can be resurrected immediately by another player spending their revive token. Players only have 1 revive token per round. Now, attackers arm one of the two sides and defend the charge until it detonates. Defenders defend both charges from being armed, defuse any active charges. Holding off the attack can win you rounds. Now, elimination rule, disable. First to 4 rounds wins, but it's 6 and 6v6. Oh, Bungie's actually giving this to us in 6v6. Wow. Now, respawn. Seconds to respawn, 7 seconds. Revive. Tokens enable. Revive costs, 1 token. No loss of token on death. Tokens per round is 1. Same scores here, guys. 1 for detonations, 1 for diffuses, 1 for defenses, and all the same maps. No lie, that sounds kind of interesting and kind of chaotic. Now, Countdown Rush. Countdown Rush is a twist on the standard Countdown experience, featuring multiple Cabal charges per round. It also features the same respawn and resurrection rules of Countdown respawn. When a charge exits play via detonation or diffusal, the other unarmed charge reactivates and is available to be armed. Once both charges are out of play, the round ends and side swap. Players earn points via detonation, diffusal, and defense. In a defense win, the defending team is awarded points per side defended, meaning if both charges were up, they would get 2 points versus 1 if only 1 charge was armed. So you gotta push both of them and potentially even split your team. Now, attackers arm and detonate as many charges as you can. Defenders defend both charges from being armed, diffuse any active charges. Holding off the attack can win rounds. Now, the setting, elimination rule is also disabled here. First to win 6 rounds, 4 and 3v3. Respawn is 7 seconds. Same thing here with the revive here, guys. Tokens enabled, no loss of token on death, 1 token for costs, and 1 token per round. Scored though is 1 per detonation, 1 for diffuses, and 1 point per defended charge, with the potential of 2 points if both charges unarmed, and 1 point if 1 charge is armed. Also the same maps here. Now, 1 variation of Countdown will be featured each week in Crucible Labs, starting in week 5. Oh, so really right around the corner. Okay, I'm down. Now, finally, Checkmate. Looking forward, we're going to be exploring new modes that branch out from the standard Destiny sandbox. Checkmate is a new set of game rules that intends to create a slower paced experience where players have more opportunity to react to encounters and where power spikes are earned rather than guaranteed. This includes changes to how special ammo is acquired, ability recharge rates, weapon time to kill, and the player's health settings. This mode is a significant shift from our core experience, so we're currently targeting the Season 22 timeframe to make sure we have time to tune the many interacting systems. Excitingly, Checkmate is built as a modifier, like we use for Nightfalls, and can be easily applied to multiple standard modes to give us maximum flexibility going forward. As we get closer to the final shape, we hope to convert some of our other modes, Momentum, Mayhem, into modifiers too. That's interesting. So if I'm understanding this right, I think you'll be able to like obtain special ammo, maybe from kills, and maybe kills are going to be tied directly to your ability recharge rate. So you cannot just passively accumulate these things. At the same time, this can go greatly the other way, right? Like give you significant amount of ammo or ability recharge after landing a kill. And that's not all we have planned for newer returning modes this year, but we aren't quite ready to spill the details on those yet. So that's all for now. We hope this deep dive into our upcoming Crucible updates, matchmaking system, competitive division rewards, and future game mode plans has you excited for what's to come in the year of Lightfall. Until next time, we'll be keeping an eye out for those Ascendant emblems and evolving competitive transmats out in the wild. All right, guys, that is your Crucible blog post. Big changes. Honestly, I'm just happy Bungie is making Crucible and PvP somewhat of a priority. We're getting more rewards, and we're getting a new reward every other season for comp. Trials is getting some massive changes, and I know a lot of people are like, dude, Cross, I don't want to play anything but elimination inside of Trials. Look, variety is good. I like it when Bungie tries to mix things up. Obviously, elimination and Trials go hand in hand. I don't see that ever going away, but it is nice to see Bungie try some stuff. And just to have something like that cycle in every now and then, to me, it's always enjoyable. So guys, let me know in the comments below what you think. All this talk of comp is making me want to play it. So if you want to come by our stream, we'll probably be playing comp sometimes this week in preparation for all of these changes. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.